Ever feel like life's a giant game? You're trying to make the best moves, but your success often depends on what others do. Why is that? What if there's a way to philosophically understand these intricate interactions? That's where game theory comes in. It's not just about winning a game. It's a field of applied mathematics, a science of strategy, studying how rational individuals make decisions when their outcomes are intertwined. Yes, you guessed it. I studied this in college, and my wife says when I get going on it, that it can make me a boring nerd sometimes. But before I digress too far, let's continue. With its roots in economics, political science, and even biology, game theory gives us a framework to analyze competition and cooperation. Beyond just mathematical calculations, game theory forces us to ask important philosophical questions such as, what is rationality? Are we purely self-interested? How does cooperation emerge? And can these games tell us anything about morality or society itself? To understand its philosophy, let's cover the basics. Game theory involves players making decisions. Each player has strategies, plans of action. These lead to payoffs, rewards, or consequences of these actions. The modern foundation was laid in 1944 by John von Neumann and Oscar Morgenstern with their book Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. They proposed that any economic situation could be seen as a game. Then, in the 1950s, John Nash, yes, that John Nash depicted in the movie A Beautiful Mind, developed the Nash equilibrium, a state where no player benefits from changing their strategy if others don't change theirs. A core assumption of classic game theory is rationality. Players logically choose what maximizes their own payoff. But is rational always selfish? And what if my best move hurts everyone, including me? Can I make the best moves and still lose? This is where this philosophy gets really interesting. One of my favorite examples of this comes from the Star Trek TNG episode Peak Performance, where Data uses an equilibrium strategy to bust up his Grandmaster opponent in a strategy game. Another classic example that you'll hear in many philosophy classes is the prisoner's dilemma. In this scenario, two suspects are arrested and can't communicate. If one confesses and implicates the other, who stays silent, the confessor goes free. The other gets 10 years. If both confess, they each get 5 years. If both stay silent, they each get 1 year. From each prisoner's view, confessing is the dominant strategy. It's better regardless of what the other does. So they both confess the Nash equilibrium and get 5 years. Yet, if they'd both stayed silent, they'd only get 1 year. This rational trap questions individual rationality versus collective good and the value of trust. Interestingly, in the iterated prisoner's dilemma, where the game is played repeatedly, strategies like tit for tat, cooperate, then mirror your opponent, show cooperation can evolve. Then there's the stag hunt scenario. Two hunters can cooperate to hunt a stag, a big shared reward, or individually hunt a hare, a smaller guaranteed reward. If one hunts the stag and the other the hare, the stag hunter gets nothing. This game isn't about betrayal, but assurance and trust. There are two Nash equilibria, both hunt stag, the best collective outcome, or both hunt hare, the safer individual bet. This demonstrates the challenge of coordination and building mutual confidence for a greater collective good. Finally, let's talk about the ultimatum game. One person, the proposer, gets, say, $100 and must offer a portion to a responder. The responder accepts, the money is split, or reject, with neither getting anything. Purely rational profit maximizers would suggest the proposer offer $1 and the responder accept. But that's not what happens. Proposers often offer 40 to 50% to gain a positive response, and responders will reject offers they see as unfair, often below 20 to 30%, even if it means they'll be getting nothing. This shows human decisions aren't just about maximizing gain. As we can see, fairness, reciprocity, and punishing unfairness matter to people. The implications go further. Evolutionary game theory suggests cooperation, fairness, and even altruism can emerge as stable strategies over generations. Morality itself could be seen as a set of rules that effectively solved recurring cooperation problems for our ancestors. This connects to social contract theory. Thinkers like Thomas Hobbes argued we agree to societal rules to escape a state of nature, a chaotic war of all against all. Game theory formalizes why even self-interested individuals might rationally consent to such constraints. Laws and moral codes can be viewed as solutions to vast societal prisoners' dilemmas or stag hunts, changing incentives to make cooperation more likely. But as you can expect in any philosophical discussion, game theory isn't without critics. Is rationality always so simple? Nobel laureate Herbert Simon proposed bounded rationality, basically stated, our decision-making is limited by incomplete information, cognitive limits, and time. We often satisfy choosing what's good enough, even if it's not perfectly optimal. Critics also note game theory can fail to predict real-world behavior accurately. People are influenced by emotions, relationships, and culture, factors hard to model mathematically. The history of the relationship, levels of trust, loyalty, and emotional bonds will heavily influence decisions. A partner might accept a smaller share to maintain a valued long-term relationship or avoid conflict, even if a purely rational calculation would suggest fighting for more. Conversely, a breakdown in trust or negative emotions can lead to spiteful decisions where individuals act to harm the other, even at a cost to themselves, a behavior difficult to model if potential payoffs are the only criteria. Cultural and social factors also motivate things like trustworthiness, fairness, reciprocal altruism, and shame avoidance, which go beyond material self-interest. However, game theory's strength may lie less in precise prediction and more as a heuristic tool, clarifying the logic of strategic situations and why cooperation is hard or how it might flourish in a particular scenario. To put it another way, game theory is more than just a mathematical algorithm. It's often more of a philosophical perspective or exercise to carefully scrutinize rationality, self-interest, cooperation, and fairness. We need to think about the games we play and ultimately what kind of players we want to be in the grand game of life. And as Captain Picard told Data in that Star Trek episode I mentioned, it is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. What are your thoughts on game theory? Let me hear what you think in the comments. And help me win the game of YouTube by liking and subscribing. I'll do my best to make it a win for you too.